Hey guys, this is Ash and you're watching WriterGAsh. So today I'm going to be talking about my latest read, which was the tandem read of Empire of Storms and Tower of Dawn. So if you don't know, I'm doing a reread of the entire Throne of Glass series and I'm almost at the end and I just finished tandem reading for the first time. I've tandem read Empire of Storms and Tower of Dawn. So this will be two separate videos, but I wanted to do this intro make this intro the same for both. This is the Empire Storms book from Nerdy Ink, and this is the beautiful edge I've done. It looks a lot more green on screen than it is. It's a more like bluish green that I painted it, and then I've got the sword of the Goldrin, like I have on every other book. And then this is Tower of Dawn with Kale, who's the main character in this book, and the dark blue edges with the Goldrin. So Empire of Storms and Tower of Dawn take place at the same time. Empire of Storms follows our main gang, Aelin, Rowan, Dorian in the main continent, whereas Tower of Dawn follows Kale and Nesrin in the southern continent. And Kale and Nesrin go to the southern continent because Kale was severely wounded by the King of Ardalan and he needs to be healed, and that is where the Torre Chesme is, where all the healers are. And we followed their journey in Tower of Dawn, and I'm leading lady in Empire of Storms. Anyway, so here on out, we will have some spoilers, so be aware. So all right, let's talk about Empire of Storms. So as I mentioned before, I did a tandem read, and Empire of Storms is one of the books I tandem read. And Empire of Storms focuses on Aelin, Dorian, Rowan, and their journey in Manan. So it picks up like right after everything that happens in Queen of Shadows happens. Aelin, Rowan, and Adian and Lysandra are on their way to Terrasen to meet up with the lords of Terrasen. And God, we meet Darrow, one of the lords, and Aelin's uncle's lover. And he is an absolute jackass to Aelin. Murtagh, who we had met before, truly is a good person. Like, he is so kind and so nice, and he, like, you know, he sees Aelin as who she is rather than what her reputation has been in the last 10 years. And Murtagh also is so nice to Evangeline. Evangeline is then left in Murtagh's care as they go back to the south because they have to protect Dorian and get allies, because basically what Darrow said was Aelin would not be recognized as a queen of Terrasen, and he had other lords backing him up. So Aelin goes towards Skull's Bay. On her way to Skull's Bay, she frees Ilium. I think that's what it is. It is the pirate kingdom that belongs to Captain Rolf, who we met in Assassin's Blade. I hated him in Assassin's Blade. I don't love him here, but he gives Aelin great scenes. Like, we'll talk about that. But while they're on their way to Skull's Bay, Dorian is in Rifthold, which is about to be sacked by the witches, which is where Manan is heading to sack Rifthold on Erevan's orders. And the Yellowlegs are also going there, and so is Rowan. Rowan goes to save Dorian's life, and Manan gets there first. She kills the Yellowlegs because she is about to kill Dorian and basically becomes the witch killer. And she saves Dorian's life, and Dorian and Rowan escape and head towards Skull's Bay to meet with Aelin. When Manan returns to Morath, Iskra Yellowlegs, the heir of the Yellowlegs clan, basically says Manan needs to pay for killing a witch. And there's a trial that happens, and as punishment, Astrid is the one that gets sentenced to death. But Manan is unable to do it, and as the true prince she is, she helps Astrid and the 13 escape and gets into a fight with her grandmother and almost died. She's gutted. And her and Abraxos make it out, and Abraxos get her to and Abraxos gets her to safety in the care of Aelin and co. Now, to meet this point, we are gonna go right back to where Dorian and Aelin are. So like I mentioned, Aelin freed Ilium. She also interacts with Brannon's statue, or like, she also has an interaction with Brannon, his ghost, and finds out more about what's going on. And him and her have like a banter going, like they're the same person, separated by centuries. And Aelin also has Lysandra take that opportunity to memorize what these sea dragons look like, so she can take on that shape later on when the time comes. This girl, Aelin thinks ahead, like miles and miles and miles ahead. Like she has everything planned, and I love that. I love Aelin Galathynius with everything I've got. Now, we've got the thing with Aelin, who is now also on her way to Skull's Bay. So Dorian gets to Skull's Bay with Rowan, and they find out Fenris and Gabriel are there on Maeve's orders. They've been sent to the continent to hunt down Lorcan, and they're also like working with Rolf. And like Dorian and Rowan try to get like Rolf to pledge his like alliance to Terrasen and Otterlin, and then Selena shows up. I say Selena and not Aelin for a reason. That scene, I love that scene. That's one of my favorite scenes in this book, where she swaggers in, takes the gems, and I love, like, that interaction is everything. And I love how Rolf knows that Selena is just not to be messed with. And then it is revealed that Selena is Aelin. And also, Rowan basically tells Gabriel that they have to work together if Gabriel ever wants to see his son, Aedion. And obviously Aelin refuses to let Gabriel make the choice of whether or not he gets to meet his son. No, Aedion is the one who decides, because it's Aedion's choice. I do love Gabriel, and I think him and Aedion have so much in common. And like once when we find out that he really did try, that he really did love Aedion's mother, and he couldn't disobey an order, that's the only time he's resented Maeve, and that if Maeve ever went after Aedion, he would have fought her tooth and nail. He truly did love Aedion's mother, and that makes a lot of difference to me. But speaking of Aedion, him and Lysandra have a thing going in this book. It just starts up, it's there from the beginning. And when Lysandra is a sea dragon fighting all the Wyverns, and she almost dies, he like goes to her and tells her like all of these guys were like they wanted to marry this sea dragon, and I was like, no, I'm the only one that's gonna marry her, and like, or something like that, like I'm the one that's gonna marry her someday. I love how their relationship started off, but oh my god, how it soured at the end. When, I mean, this is a spoiler, so I'm gonna just talk about that. But at the end, when he finds out that Lysandra knew Aelin was planning on dying the entire time, or Aelin knew she was gonna die the entire time and Lysandra was gonna fake it, he was so fucking cruel to her. I know he's in pain. He loves Aelin like his little sister, and I know he's in pain, but that doesn't make it right to snap at other people. God, he needs to grovel to that girl. Like, he did not treat her right. And it's gonna get worse. Like, he's the kind of person who takes a reaction far too far. Anyway, so they managed to convince Rolf to join their army, and they march towards Eoway, because that is where Maeve has been bringing an armada to attack Eoway and make it look like Aelin is doing it. And Morath finds out Aelin has the Morath finds out Aelin has the third key, which makes it all the more troublesome, and Manon makes it into the pack. When Manon joins them, and Dorian and Manon like have a thing. Like I liked it, but also at the same time it felt weird to me the entire time. I like the idea of Dorian and Manon, but it also feels weird. I don't know why. I don't have words for how I'm feeling about them. But also, I love Manon and Aelin. Like, Manon and Aelin have a real good vibe going. She's the Iron Queen and Aelin's the Fire Queen. When they go into the mirror together to find out what happened and look through the history of what Elena had done, of how all of this has come and how Aelin's gonna die, Manon and Aelin really form a bond there. And at the end of the beach, when Aelin slips Manon the keys and she's unable to help Aelin, like she apologizes for that later. Like that's why I couldn't do it. I believe wholeheartedly if Manon didn't have the keys in that moment, she would have fought Maeve. She would have kicked her ass because like it's Manon Blackbeak bitches. But yeah, I really like that friendship. Manon reveals to the court that Elide Locken is alive. Okay, so little Elide is just in like everyone loves her. Any good character, I can't think of a single one who doesn't love her, want to protect her. But she's also so fierce. Like this is the book she like grows in. I kept wanting to read her scenes in this book. Normally I love following Aelin and mostly Aelin, but in this book every time I read it, it's Elide who I want to be following. Anyway, so that's kind of what like happens with Aelin and co. But before we move on to Elide, let's wrap up talking about Aelin and co. So now like Manon has joined Aelin and co, so that plot line kind of merges. And now Aelin is moving towards the marshes where, well, she's been told to go for the lock. And that when they get there, they get the mirror where Aelin and Manon learn everything from. Before we end this, let's also talk about Diana. So the scene where Diana takes over Aelin through the word key and Rowan stands in front of her direct line of fire, that scene is when like I think a lot of people knew they were mates. That's when like Rowan, like even later Rowan admits, it knew we were mates on some level. I always knew, and maybe it was guilt or maybe it was shame or whatever it was. I was not willing to admit it to myself, and like he regrets not admitting it to himself. And oh god, they got married at the end and weren't even together for a day before she gets taken by Maeve. But in order to talk about that, we need to discuss Elide, sweet little Elide. So Manon and 13 drop Elide off and she's on her way to Terrasen. On her way, she meets Lorcan, who kind of becomes her travel companion. And later on, they discover that Aelin is in EOA, so they start making their way to EOA. And I just really love how this like jackass Lorcan can't say no to Elide. Like he's basically like a lost little puppy going behind her. And it makes his character a little bit endearing. Like he does a lot of bad things and makes himself really unlikable, but those are the things that make him slightly bit more likable. I don't know if I actually still do like Lorcan. I like Lorcan and Elide. I don't know if I like Lorcan, but Lorcan is basically now faking being Elide's husband because, God, I hate to say it. And it's, okay, come on. It's like happens in real life. A guy is more likely to leave you alone if you tell him that you have a boyfriend than if you say you're not interested. And that is the reality of this world as well. And Elide basically fakes being Lorcan's wife. They join a carnival or something like that. And they travel with them. And Lorcan's a sword thrower. Elide's a fortune teller. The Ilkenic attack. And Elide has a few badass moments in her. Lorcan, like, at first Lorcan thinks her name is Marion and then discovers she's actually Elide, the rightful lady of Paranth, and that's when he's like, okay, like, you know, he's a little bit more honest with her. Eventually he is very much so telling her everything. The most beautiful scene in this book for them is when he says, I want to see Paranth. Like, when Gabriel and Fenris are about to attack him, he's like, I would have gone to Paranth with you, or like, I wanted to go to Paranth with you. And it was so sad because like he knew that was not gonna happen, and but the two of them make their way to Aelin, and on one of the stops, Elide goes into a place where Vernon is waiting for her, and he tells her Lorcan's gone. And Lorcan comes in and saves Elide's life. But no, Elide in that moment also holds her own, and she does what she can. Yes, she's not trained like everyone else in this series, but that doesn't make her any less strong. And I think that's how I've always seen Elaine. I read Throne of Glass long before I read ACOTAR, and I often connect certain characters in Throne of Glass to ACOTAR characters, which makes me like them more. And I know a lot of people hate Elaine, but to me, Elaine's ACOTAR is Elide, and how can you hate sweet little Elide? But God, just because she's sweet doesn't mean she's fierce. At the end, when Lorcan betrays them, she doesn't give him an inch. Honestly, that's how Lysandra should be treating Aedion, in my opinion. That being said, they make it basically because Elide is with Lorcan. Aelin tells Gabriel and Fenris they can't touch Lorcan, and then Maeve's armada attacks them. There's a lot that happens in between. We've already talked about some of that, but when Maeve's armada attacks them, Aelin and Manon are in the magic mirror. Rowan goes to the armada, to all the Whitethorn ships, and basically turns 1/3 of Maeve's armada against Maeve, and he wins Aelin an army of Fae through nothing but undying loyalty. He has nothing to his name except for his love for her, and it was like, God, it was so sweet. But no, so before the fight, Lorcan has Elide taken to shore, and that's where Maeve goes. And Lorcan realizes, fuck, I fucked up because I'm the one that called Maeve. And Maeve later reveals it, and that is the moment where Elide goes. Like, she hates Lorcan with every fiber of her being because she is a loyal girl. She is loyal to her queen and no one else. And yes, she might have loved Lorcan, but he betrayed her queen, and that to her is something big. And I like her loyalty, like, I respect her loyalty so much. But Gabriel and Lorcan's blood oath is dishonorable. They're dishonorably discharged from Maeve's service, basically. And they're free in a way, but they've also been dishonorably discharged. And like, I don't know what that means, but Gabriel seemed to be like, from it, like he's a man of honor and blah, blah, blah. But Fenris, who actually wanted to be let go, wasn't, because that was his punishment. The person who least wanted to serve Maeve would be forced to serve Maeve forever. But to save Elide, Maeve has Aelin voluntarily turn herself in. And Aelin does so because she loves Elide. She owes Elide everything because Elide's mother died to save her life. And Elide fights tooth and nail to get to Aelin as Lorcan holds her back, and it is such a sad scene. And Maeve reveals that Rowan is Aelin's mate, and she had basically tricked Rowan into believing Lyra was his mate. And God, this woman has destroyed so many lives, has masterminded so much. She is just a horrible, horrible, horrible person. I don't care what Maeve's been through. What she's done to other people is inexcusable. She's made everyone else pawns in her little game. She's an absolute monster. Okay. And she takes Aelin in an iron box away, far away from her mate, who shows up, roaring for his wife to find out she's been taken by their enemy. And to find out she knew she was his mate and didn't tell him to spare him. And right after that, all of Aylin's hard work pays off. And this is such a callback to the scene before where she said she was gonna call in every favor she owed, and she will get like raise an army of assassins and thieves. And I think this is my favorite scene of all of Sarah J. Maas's books. I don't know why, just seeing the seas and seas of soldiers show up for Aylin. I remember just like freezing when I first read it and like wanting to cry. I struggle to cry with books. I really struggle with tears unless it's from anger or frustration. So when something like this happens and like hits me this way, it means a lot to me. I remember when Galen shows up and he's like, Aylin sent me this letter, and I brought all of Vedlin's armada. And as the sea filled up with soldiers and soldiers and soldiers, it was just such a touching scene. And then the silent assassins showed up because they owed a life debt to Selena Sardathian. Aylin Galatinius and Selena Sardathian have called in all of their favors. To me, there was no greater scene written. Okay. Now that I'm talking about this amazing scene, I'm also remembering Ansel of Briarcliff, who showed up in EOA as everyone was like spent from fighting the Flag, with her own army and the army she stole from Melisande because she owed Aylin a debt. And Aylin found out that when she was in Endovier, after Ansel had finished her work, she was coming to Endovier to save her life. The kind of loyalty this girl evokes in people, I want to be that person. I want to be someone people can love that much so that they would go to the ends of the world for them. Someone that people would fight for. And the only reason they do that is because she has done that for them. She has shown people kindness. She has shown people kindness in the face of horror. She has shown people loyalty when there was none left in the world. There was no one better. Yes, she's an assassin. Yes, she has killed people. Yes, she's lied. Yes, she's stolen. And there's no better person than Aylin Galatinius. And there's no one I respect more than Aylin Galatinius. If I existed in that world, I would live for one reason only, and that would be to serve Aylin Galatinius. Anyway. So that is my Empire of Storms rant and my ode to Aylin, I guess. I once wrote a speech about Aylin. So for my freshman speech class, I took an honors speech class. One of our assignments was to talk about something we were passionate about. And I gave a 10-minute speech on Aylin Galatinius. And I cried in front of my class while talking about Aylin and how much I loved her and how amazing she is. I literally gave a speech about her struggles, her battles, and all of that to a class of people who knew nothing about her, and I cried. Well, not like ball cry, but I had tears in my eyes. That's the most I can do in public. I had tears in my eyes in front of my peers, in a class, in a college class, because I love her so much. That was just, as you can see, there's nothing. I have no words. This book is probably my favorite in the series. When I was reading it, Queen of Shadows, I was like, no, that is. But while Queen of Shadows as a book, in my opinion, is better, That last scene in this book is the best thing I've ever read. It is the reason I keep coming back to Sarah J. Maas. It's the reason I keep hoping one day we'll see something like that again. Because I don't think she's ever touched that greatness ever again. So that is my book talk for Empire of Storms. And as you can see, it has utterly broken me all over again, even though I've read it multiple times. I sometimes go back to this scene and I'll read this scene because of how much I love this scene. And I love this woman. And by this woman, I mean Aelin Ashra Galantinius.